Hi, my name is Preston Brown and welcome to the Fire Drill Initiator Training. Today we're going to learn how to conduct effective drills for your department, and we're going to give you 7 tips on how to do that. We'll also help you understand the reasons why we fire drill and how you can best incorporate those and get the best bang for your buck when you do the fire drills for your area specifically. We have to start with why we're even doing the drill in the first place. If we don't start there, we don't have the correct purpose in mind, it's going to be difficult to get an effective drill. It's not just about getting people to sign a piece of paper saying that they participated. Not just about getting people to be able to answer questions when CMS and Joint Commission come and say, yeah, I've participated in a fire drill before. That's not the only purpose. The main purpose is that we want to understand that employees know exactly what to do in the case of a real fire. And the only way we can do that is to drill, drill, and drill. It's also very important that we ensure the safety of the staff, patients, visitors, and anyone else coming to our facility in the case of a real emergency. So let's talk about, just for a moment here, who's responsible to get this job done. Who's responsible for drills? Well, there's several layers. First of all, we could talk about the department head. They are responsible for ensuring drill completion and staff participation. We also have another layer that sometimes is inserted, and that would be the safety coordinator or the educator of the area. They may be delegated by the department head to actually perform the drills and ensure their completion and ensure staff participation. And then there's environmental health and safety. So what's our role? What is our responsibility when it comes to the fire drill program? Our role mainly is to report to leadership the findings and the outcomes of those drills done at the department specific level. We'll report on up to entity leadership through our safety committees. And we'll perform some auditing drills to make sure that drills are being conducted appropriately. We'll manage that documentation and have it ready to roll when Joint Commission, CMS, or any other regulatory agency like OSHA wants to show up and go through our reports. Now let's talk about some recent changes to the fire drill program. One of those is that in the past, we would actually conduct a fire drill in one unit of the healthcare occupancies like Med Center, BMC, East Campus. We would conduct one drill, and we would, as soon as the alarms go off, expect that everyone else is conducting drills in their area. That has been the process for years, ever since I've been here. And what was happening is it was a little confusing because people would say, well, if EH&S shows up in your area, then you have to conduct a drill. If we don't show up in your area, then you do have to conduct the drill on your own. And it was a bit confusing. So what we've done is we've removed that one drill that we were conducting, although we are still making sure that the alarms go off once per shift per quarter for the healthcare occupancies. The one drill that EH&S was conducting, which was not sufficing for regulatory agencies anyhow, is not being done. So what we've done is now it's entirely observed by the departments. So when the alarms go off, an announcement will go forward, and that is the other change. The announcement used to say a location. It would say code red 3700 or something like that. And then everyone would know, okay, that's where the fire drill was initiated by EH&S. We still need to go ahead and do our forms. We weren't getting a whole lot of those forms in. So what we had actually changed about 2 years ago was we went away from the location and to where now it's just the announcement code red drill. We don't include the location anymore for code red drills. So that's been a recent change, as well as the change with EH&S not conducting that one drill for that one area that we were conducting in the past. So as you can see from the numbers here, last couple of years our non-compliance numbers have been kind of high. So we're doing a lot to address that and make sure that those numbers are looking a lot better, which they already are. One of the things that we're doing is we are conducting different reporting styles to the safety committee. In the past, we used to be reporting that EH&S had conducted one drill per shift per quarter, and it was always 100%. We had always conducted that first initial drill. And it really didn't tell the safety committee how many people were actually participating in the drill, how many departments were actually filling out the forms. And so we've changed our reporting style. We're going to be reporting now on the department specific level to let administration know how many drills are actually being conducted. We are also developing a new tool for you to use and be able to fill out your fire drills online. One of the other things that we're doing is creating new education. That's what you see here, and you're being a part of today. And we are also conducting auditing drills. So we will come in your area and do a drill that's above and beyond the regulations, but it's just a way for us to double check to make sure that employees really do know race, the fire plan, pass, ILSM, those different questions that is really important to ask. To find out how often fire drills are required to be conducted in your area, we've put together a little flow chart that you can follow. You can see it here. It's also on our webpage under Fire Drill Forms. You can get that, and I would really strongly suggest that you go through and just double check to make sure that your area is conducting them at the proper frequency. Here's kind of the process of how fire drills are initiated. And it's a little different from business occupancies to healthcare occupancies. Healthcare occupancies wait for the alarm to sound. When that alarm sounds on a once per shift per quarter basis, then you go ahead and fill out the fire drill form, conduct a little scenario with your group. We'll talk about scenarios in just a second here. And then you get employees to sign in, send off that drill to us, and we report it on up to leadership. For business occupancies, it's a little different. We're not going to come in and set off the alarms for your area. So it's important that you coordinate with security or campus engineering or environmental health and safety to make sure that we have somebody there that can help you set off the fire alarm on an annual basis and do that in a proper fashion. Now let's talk about 7 tips for making your fire drills effective and getting the most out of the time spent doing this, because it's not just any other activity. This is extremely important. We want to make sure, again, that our staff and our patients and our visitors are safe, and we also want to make sure that our staff know how to properly respond in an emergency. So tip number 1, make it a surprise drill. If you do that, employees aren't expecting it to happen and they don't have time to study. That's a good thing, because that's exactly how a fire is going to happen. It's not going to give you time to prepare. It's going to happen when it's least expected. And so it's really important that staff know how to respond in a moment to what they should do in a fire situation. It is okay to let department heads know. I would actually strongly recommend and suggest that you let your department head know if you're not the department head, and anybody else that's in leadership in your department. I wouldn't let frontline staff know. That part is where really the surprise element comes into play. There is a requirement that at least 50% of our drills are unannounced. We like to say 100% of our drills are unannounced. So it's best if we can keep it that way and not let anybody know that there's a fire drill that's going to happen. Second tip to making your drills effective is to let staff know, how long is this going to take? That's the first question. When you start popping questions on them and say, hey, here's a scenario, what are you going to do based on this information? They're going to say, how long is this going to take me? I've got patients to deal with. I've got work that needs to get done. And so it's very important if you can let them know up front, hey, this is going to take maximum 5 minutes, probably more like 2 minutes if you're good on the answers, you know exactly how to respond, things like that. It really helps them accept the drill better and participate better. The third tip is a rather obvious one, and that is be familiar with the information yourself. If you're asking employees what the fire plan is, probably should know what the fire plan is, right? If you're asking employees what ILSM is, probably you should be familiar with that process. So to do that, you can go to our website, Environmental Health and Safety, and you can look up the training tab, and there's a lot of different training elements on there that you can look through, some PDFs, some PowerPoints, some videos, and go through and figure out what it is that RACE stands for, PASS stands for, ILSM stands for. Another good key is to make sure you are familiar with and know where your evacuation plan is. Tip number 4 is to use scenario-based examples. So what we mean by this is we actually have a template that you can use. You can choose from several different scenarios that we have on our website, again under Fire Drill Forms, under the Forms tab, under Environmental Health and Safety. What you can do is once you print those out, you can select any of those. They are a range of things. I think probably Christmas tree is on there, electric detector or computer fire, trash can fire. You can come up with your own, or you can use one of ours, and you can fill that out where you can actually include the room number of where you're going to do the drill, hand that card to an employee, and that's how the drill is initiated. And you hand that to them and say, this is a fire drill, and this is exactly what is happening. The fire is on the computer, for instance, and it's smoking, and here's the room it's in. You can add whatever you want. If you want to add, maybe there's 2 people in the room that are unconscious. What are you going to do and how are you going to respond? That's a great way to start a drill. And in fact, that's how CMS was drilling employees when they came last. So if our regulatory agencies are asking employees questions like this, we probably ought to be doing the same thing to make sure that our employees are ready. Tip number 5 is to rely on employee guidance, asking them, what would you do first? Not interrupting them and saying, oh, you forgot the rescue step, you went straight to alarm. No, it's better if they can get as much out as possible and you don't interrupt them. And they may end up getting all the different elements of race, although they may have it a little out of order. Fact of the matter is that most of these things can actually be done simultaneously. So letting them just conduct the drill as they go through it in their head, you might be a little surprised at how much the employees can grasp and they can pick up on their own without having to have a lot of intervention from you. Tip number 6 is to document everything. If you had a deficiency in your area, maybe there was only one person but they didn't know the race plan, or maybe there was only one person that didn't know what PASS stood for, that's fine. Go ahead and mark it as non-compliant. You will have an option to say correct it on site. If you were able to spend a couple minutes with them and do some on-site training there, and you can select that as part of your documentation. Say, it was out of compliance, but we did correct it on site. You're good to go. You don't need to do anything else. But if it is out of compliance and we do need to do some training later, not a big deal. Nobody's getting in trouble. It is important that we do show that we are improving. And when Joint Commission and CMS look at our documentation, if they see all 100% and they see no problems, but then they start to ask employees and there's a problem here or there, they're going to realize, hey, somebody's not documenting these fire drills right. So it's really important that we do document our problems. It's not telling on anyone. It's actually making sure that the data and the documentation is accurate. And the last tip is extremely important, but it's really only for business occupancies. And that is, before you have a drill with fire alarms included, make sure that you contact security, environmental health and safety, or campus engineering, or whatever company, if it's an outside company that's running your alarm system. Don't just go and set off the alarm and then when somebody shows up say, oh, we were doing a fire drill. Not good. That's not a good way to handle it. It's better to plan ahead and make sure that we have somebody there that can reset the panel immediately so the alarms aren't going off forever. And that's really the best way to handle that. You shouldn't ever be setting off the fire alarm system without a representative from security or the alarm company there to help you with that. If you need any help, there's help questions built into the fire drill form itself, where you can click or hover and actually get more information on what to put in those fields. But let me say this, it is important that we fill it out in its entirety. If we leave a bunch of boxes unchecked, it's not complete documentation, it's not a complete drill. We've scaled down everything possible to only what's required by Joint Commission, CMS, OSHA, NFPA, and any other regulatory agencies. So if the question is on the form, it's because we want it filled out, and it needs to be filled out. So please help us by filling out the form in its entirety before you submit the form to Environmental Health and Safety. So one of the questions we get a lot on fire drills is, how do I find my completed fire drill forms? Once the form is submitted to Environmental Health and Safety, where does it go? And it is emailed automatically. Once it's entered in our system, it's emailed automatically to the department head, and they have a link where they can actually get access to the online portal system, the reporting portal, which is also accessed through going to Environmental Health and Safety page. And then there's a Reports and Resources tab, and then you can log in there if you already have a login account. If you don't have a login account and you are responsible for certain facilities and you would need to be seeing fire drills, that's fine. Go ahead and click where it says to click for new members or new access, and you can get in there and actually request a login for yourself. Once you're in that portal, you can see all of your past drills, you can see the scores, you can see what was marked as non-compliant, what was marked as compliant. The official PDF reports are there, so you can access those. It's a really great system, and so that's how we can find our official fire drill report, and also find out when the last time was that your department did a fire drill. One last thing that I want to throw in here before we end this program is it is extremely important, and you realize this when you begin to do fire drills, that we have an updated evacuation plan. We have an area-specific evacuation plan that is easy to fill out, easy to write, easy to reach, and it is all online, and you can find that on the VIP page under forms as well, or by going to the emergency operations plan section of the website, and that form is located there as well. You can click on the link called Initial Evacuation Survey Form, and that link will take you to a 4-page document where you fill out your important information, the necessary information. We get that information sent to us. We'll send it back to you in an official evacuation form. And once we have that, we're ready to go for training. You can train employees and actually perform mock evacuations during your drills. That's always a great thing to do, is to include either a wheelchair or a gurney or even a pillow on a sheet, and have an employee drag that or push that piece of equipment to your nearest relocation point, just to give them the practice to know off the top of their head where they're supposed to go in an evacuation. The more we can drill, the more we can do this in an effective manner, the better our employees are going to be at responding, and the safer our institution is going to be when it comes to a real situation, if that were to ever happen. I want to say I really appreciate your time today. I'm thankful that you are interested in safety, thankful that you are helping us with conducting fire drills. If you have any questions, always feel free to call our office. We're more than happy to answer your questions over the phone, over email, or we're happy also to come to your department and actually help you conduct the fire drill and work with that together if you're interested in doing that. So contact our office if you have questions or want our involvement in your next drill. Thanks so much, and stay safe.